The fourth Sunday of Advent has as its opening chant classically the famous Rorate Celi de Super. Heavens, send down your dew. The Old Testament is full of high poetry, and the season of Advent is a time amongst the highest of moments of the Church's year when these are picked out and meditated upon. And so we have in the Gospel already the awaiting centuries. We forget what it meant to a Jewish lady to be born into the Israel of the time. It was already an anticipation of the possibility that this perhaps might be the time, this might be the birth, this might be the moment at which the long-awaited Messiah was coming. And yet we find that when it was the correct version, the one that was hailed by the angel was the least expecting of such a favour, and indeed is greeted as being highly favoured. And when it comes here to the scene that immediately follows this Annunciation, we see that again there is a recognition on this time on the part of another human being, her own cousin Elizabeth, that there is something mysterious happening, that she is indeed blessed of all women. The phrase has come down to us and is sanctified by myriads of recitations of the same, and so it will continue, fulfilling thus the prophecy that she herself made in her own canticle, the Magnificat, all generations will call me blessed. And so it is that she is the blessed par excellence. And when we have this jumping of the Baptist, the cousin of Jesus, in the womb, we have another indication of the cosmic nature of things happening at this time. This was the purification of John, it would seem, in the womb, and he was the forerunner, the man who was formed directly by the Holy Spirit. Indeed, there was this link with the Holy Spirit already in the womb, but then in the desert years, after the loss possibly of his elderly parents, it was the Holy Spirit who taught this strange, mysterious figure all about what man could not teach directly. And then when it came to the encounter at the Jordan, he recognized him without having spoken to him face to face ever before. And so we have this very gentle scene at Ain Karim, these two holy women for a good while sharing their life in a semi-monastic state. We have the intuition, indeed it was given to Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, who saw this in vision, that the time they spent together was very silent and very gentle and loving. They would spend time in prayer, and it would be an interiorized prayer, but they would also use these canticles that they had been inspired. The Benedictus, well, certainly the Magnificat. The Benedictus is not clear. That wouldn't have happened at that point, because that was given at the birth of John the Baptist to his father. But it seems that they were already using the Magnificat. Whatever it may be, they would have been producing there in that period something which would be possible for our situation according to what is doable in our life. We notice that certain constants emerge in the life of our Blessed Lady and this holy cousin. They were faithful to the law, they were faithful to the structure, but in it they would pray sincerely, and they would not be noisy people. We need the structure, but we need also the interiority to go with it. Even within the structure perfectly maintained, if there is too much output of unnecessary activity and noise, We are not interiorized soul. And so this scene at Ain Karim of these two holy women is something that we can take away with us. We need to be in that contemplative mode in all that we do. The same action can be done just well, professionally well, or it can be done in mode of engagement of soul, as these holy women had. And for that to happen, they were helped by the fact that their life was not complicated by too many messages. Hence it was a semi-monastic life that they had there in those months. We have too many things coming at us all the time, and we need to be therefore aware that we are less favoured than they were in their simple life. And therefore we have to make more of an effort not to engage all the time and unnecessarily with what we're not asked to do or to fidget with from morning till night. And thus we will be also faithful to the bottom line indicated by the writer of the Epistle to the Hebrews, where the Holocaust pleasing to the Father was that of the will. We find it also in the Annunciation, "Behold the handmaid, the servant of the Lord, be it done unto me according to thy word." So here we also find it in the words put on the lips of Christ as he comes into the world, "I have come to do your will." The writer of the Epistle to the Hebrews is arguing a strong case, trying to indicate to those who might feel frustrated with regard to losing the rich heritage which they had with all the system of the Old Testament law and order, that all is being lost in one generation in favour of this cult which is being somewhat interiorized compared with all the perfect structure that they had, and they perhaps did not want to lose their privileges. He is indicating the whole ethos of the sacrifice of the will as the profound offering of the creature before its maker. And indeed we can fall into a similar trap. If we try with all our effort and energy to make the exterior, even of the celebration, even actually of the liturgical celebration, correct, and then do not engage because the internal part has been sacrificed totally to the external, then we too can be in danger of something similar. We need, especially at Christmastide, to make sure that anything we do in regard to the preparation of the feast and indeed of the liturgy is done always in the same spirit as all the rest in liturgy, that is prayer. We can't be unprayerful to prepare prayer. It doesn't happen. We have to be always in one mode of honouring God, and thus even the preparation participates in the act of worship already by the fact that it is care and attention shown to what pertains to God. It participates in the virtue of religion, which is what binds us to God, religare. So we can take this with us too, that as in the case of our Blessed Lady, there was a simple worship happening at home from day to day, so too in our worship, what the Lord is looking for is essentially that handing over of the will, because the first worship is actually conformity of will. If that is not there, we can't throw dust and sand in the eyes of our Creator by creating something beautiful if the will is not yet handed over. So let our worship essentially be that of the deepest level of ourselves being in a state of yes and fiat to whatever intimation may come of the divine will. If that is there, then spontaneously it will outflow into also beauty for God. For when we love God, we will not give him anything lower than the very best.
Ci Manum meus annunciat firmamentum. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper, et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Gloria te cieli des oper, et nubes glorios tuum, aperiatur terra, et germinet sava